we are going to do a snowball block today. Y seams, which are not as difficult as you may think. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm just doing this so you can see my face because I've got two cameras set up. One that's over the top of my table and one that is over by my sewing machine. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out of my phone, and then I will get right over to the sewing table. And before I do that, I'm going to make sure that I can see you guys if you are talking to me. I see there's 11 of you, so if you are there, go ahead and say hi. And you are not going to see my face from now on because I am leading the meeting. So can you hear me okay, you guys? So can you hear me okay, you guys? Okay, I can tell that you can hear me because I can hear myself. So I know that, so I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm just going to turn my screen so I can see if you're asking me any questions. And give me just 1 second. I have a crazy setup today, but at least I don't have to hug my tripod. So anyway, I've started by putting together the first 2 rows of the snowball. Now it looks a little wonky, but I promise you it's not. I did go ahead and press this bottom part so you can see it lays nice and flat. My squares are all nice and square, but I didn't press the top part because it's easier to put together if you don't press it between sewing your seams. So, and I'll show you why when we get started. So the first thing you want to do, the first thing I did was sewed this row, and I'm going to take this apart because I want to be like, I want to be perfect. I'm not perfect, but, and I sewed this so that the bird is going down. We don't want the bird to go down. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start with this first row. So I'm going to sew these 2 together, and then sew the 4 together. And then we will start putting our squares in between. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting this together, just like this. And I'm going to go ahead and move over to my sewing machine. You can't hear me on Facebook? Can you guys hear me? Huh, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why you can't hear me. Hold on a second. Let me see if, no, I've got the right microphone on. I don't know why. I am a little ways away from the microphone. Maybe that's why. I only have one microphone and I'm all over the room. So that might be why you can't hear me very well. I'm sorry about that. So I'm going to yell so you guys can hear me better. And I'm moving over to my sewing machine. Okay, glad you can hear me now. And I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to yell a little bit because I am across the room from where the microphone is. So what we want to do is, these are marked. This pattern is on my website. It is Jen Kingwell postcard pattern number 7. If you put Jen Kingwell in the search on my website, you should be able to find this pattern. But it's just a snowball pattern. It comes with 2 templates. One is an octagon and one is a square. And it has the holes drilled in it so that you can mark where you want to sew from and to. So that's how you're going to make your Y seams. So you're going to start at the first blue dot, and I'm going to sew a couple of stitches and I'm going to backstitch. I know you don't normally backstitch when you quilt, but you're going to do that with this because with the Y seams, you're not going to be sewing over the seams, so you won't be locking your seams. So I'm just taking a couple stitches back and forth right when I get to the next dot. And then you're going to have to cut your thread in between as well. And you just want to go from the center of that dot that you marked to the center of the other dot on that seam. And you'll cut your threads in between. And this is how my row is going to go together. So the first thing you're going to do is just sew this one row. But don't sew all the rows together because I found doing it the way that they said in the pattern doesn't work as well. So what I do is I sew one row and then I start piecing the other rows onto that row. Okay, I'm going to go check and make sure you guys can hear me. So can you hear me when I'm at the sewing machine? Say yes. Give me a thumbs up. And I'm waiting for you to answer me because you guys are behind a little bit from me, so. Let me know. Okay, you can hear me. Okay. I don't want to be over here talking and you guys not be able to hear me. So as you can see, there is a dot marked in each corner of the square, and the little corners are cut off of the squares. And the reason for that is when you put it together with your octagon, it's going to match up to your edges of your octagon, just like that. See how it matches up right there? And then what you're going to do is match it up on the other side. So this is the reason why you don't want to press these seams, because you want to be able to move them out of the way and match that other corner as well. So you're going to match both of your corners. Now, if you have a problem keeping it together without a pin, put a pin in it. So sometimes I put a pin in and sometimes I don't. This time it wants to kind of move around, so I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it. Sometimes it'll just stay right there and I can just hold it and sew it at the same time. But, oh, and I want to start. So I like to sew with the square on top as much as possible, as often as possible. And I like to sew from the outside. So actually I'm going to move this over to this side, because I like to sew from the left to the right. So I'm going to move this over to the left side of this. And I'm just going to put one pin in just to keep it straight. And again, I'm going to start in the middle of that blue dot and do a couple of back stitches. And then I'm going to hold this seam allowance out of the way from this next octagon so that I'm not sewing over it. And I'm going to sew right to the middle of that dot again. And then I'm going to back stitch just 1 or 2 stitches and cut my thread. So there's the square is sewn onto this side. Now I'm going to sew it onto this side. And to do that, I'm going to keep the square on top and just pull one octagon out of the way, this one that I've already sewn it to. And I'm going to match up that corner and that corner just like we did the last time, and see how it lays nice. And I don't have to even pin it. I don't even have to pin this one because it just wants to go where it wants to go. So it's So I'll go ahead and start in the middle of the dot, back stitch, and so to the other dot, and back stitch. And that's it for that square. And so you see it's sewn nicely into this corner. It's nice and flat. It looks like there's a pinch there, but there isn't. It just got kind of creased when I folded it over to sew it, but there's nothing wrong with it at all. And then I'm just going to do the same thing on the next one. So start on the left side. I'm going to pull the seam allowance away on this side and match up that corner. And I think I'm going to put a pin in it because it doesn't want to stay down. So I'm going to put a pin there. Give me just 1 second and I'll go and look and see if you guys have questions. I'll do this second square first and then I'll go and check to see if you have questions. So I'm matching up the corners again. I'm pulling this seam allowance out of the way so that it doesn't get sewn over. Starting in the middle of the dot, a couple of back stitches. And there's the second one. So I'm going to go check and see if you guys have questions that I can answer. Sue, the square has, the edges are squared off on, yeah, well, how do I put it? They've got a diagonal cut on them. Let me show you. You see it's got the diagonal cut off the corners, so it makes it easy. And what I do is I take a 1.5 inch strip and then I cut the squares out of the strip. It makes it easier than trying to cut around all the little corners. Okay, I'm going to do this one last one, and then I'm going to show you how I put the next row on. So what I don't do is I don't sew a whole nother row and then try to piece it on with all the little corners. I sew the octagons on just the way I'm doing with the squares. Just one seam at a time, and it works really well. So I've tried it a couple different ways. I tried it the way they said in the pattern, and I didn't feel that it worked very well. I got really squidgy corners when I tried to pivot at the corners. So didn't think that it looked very good. So I really like this method better, where you put the each piece on separately. The only row that I do is the very first row. So you see all of the squares are on, all of my corners are perfect. I don't have any holes anywhere. So now the next thing I'm going to do is just start piecing on the octagons the same way. And really that's all you do. It's pretty much the same. The octagon's a little different because you've got 3 seams instead of 2. you're just doing the same thing. You're pulling away the seam allowance so that it's not getting crossed over with your stitches. Start in the middle of the dot. Oops, I went a little bit far on that one. But I can pull those first 2 stitches out. It's not a big deal. And then this one has 3 seams. So this is the last one where we're going to match it up on the other side of the square. Okay, you guys, sorry about that. I forgot I have to put the other octagon on first. I'm not doing it on this square, I'm doing it to the next octagon. That's why we're best friends with Jack the Ripper. At least it's a nice short one. So the templates come together in the package. So I'll show you. This is the pattern, and both of the templates come in the pattern. And the pattern's only, I think, $7.50 or something. So this is the one that has the 3 seams. I guess we're only still doing 2 at a time. 1, 2, no, 3. I was right. It's just the first one only has 2. See, now we have this 3rd seam to do. Now I've done this pattern a bunch of different ways, and I did it paper pieced the other day, and I like that too. So if you like doing handwork, then doing this with English paper piecing is great. But if you don't like handwork, then this works really nicely. And this square is perfect. It's hard to tell because it's not pressed, but it is. So that's the way it works. And So this is going to go there, and then I'll have another piece to make something out of. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. I might make another bag. I'm using Tilda Maple Farm and Tiny Farm, and then this is Tilda Chambray and Petrol, if you were wondering what the fabrics are. So that's that. I hope that helped. And if you don't like doing handwork, I hope it helped you to realize that you can do these fun little patterns with the machine. It takes a little while, but hey, you guys saw that. I put that together really quick. It probably only take me a total of half an hour to get this whole piece put together. And I think that's pretty good for something that looks as cute as that. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I am going to let you all go. Have a good evening, good dinner. And oh, I meant to mention, it is open cart right now for the Tilda Club. So if you're interested in being in our box club and getting a box of Tilda fabric and notions every month, it's open. You can go to our website and click on Tilda Club USA, and you can join up there. And I will see you later. Love you guys. Bye. Sue, the pattern is Jen Kingwell's postcard pattern number 7. Glad you liked it, Donna. You're welcome, Margaret.